Hey guys, today I want to share something really interesting, monasticism. That might sound like a big word, but don't worry. It's basically about people who wanted to live peaceful, quiet lives away from all the noise and craziness of the world. They believed that by living simply, they could focus better on their beliefs and find inner peace. Monasticism is when someone leaves regular life behind to focus on God and live simply. These people, called monks, wanted to stay away from distractions and bad influences so they could feel closer to something greater than themselves. They thought this kind of life helped them feel calm, focused, and strong inside, both mentally and spiritually. One big reason people became monks is because they believed the body and mind were connected. They thought that if life was too loud, busy, or fancy, it made it hard to focus. So, they chose quiet and simple living. Some even fasted, or didn't eat for a while, because they thought it helped them feel more spiritual or closer to God. They believed that by removing noise and distractions, they could listen better to their inner thoughts and feel more peaceful. Some people believed the body could lead you to do wrong things. So, they tried to make their bodies weaker to make their souls stronger. That meant living a really tough life, wearing old clothes, eating just a little food, and giving up comfort. Some monks even did extreme things like crawling on the ground, eating grass, or living on top of tall poles for years. A few were even tied together with chains so they couldn't lie down and had to keep praying. They did all this because they thought suffering helped make them better people. Even when it wasn't that wild, monastic life was still very hard. People believed that going through tough times made them holier. So they lived in deserts or mountains, wore rags, and gave up things like tasty food or warm beds, all to feel closer to God. They wanted to show their dedication by giving up the comforts that most people enjoyed. Life outside the monasteries wasn't great either. In the 300s, money problems were everywhere. Rich people didn't have to pay taxes, and neither did slaves. So regular workers like shopkeepers had to pay all the taxes. It was way too much, and many of them lost everything. Some of them joined monasteries to live more simply, where life was hard but fair and focused on shared goals. But war was the biggest problem. There were fights all over. Even Christians were fighting each other in churches and in the streets. Things got really bad when Emperor Valens was killed in a battle called the Battle of Adrianople. The Roman army lost to groups like the Goths, Huns, and Vandals. That battle was a big reason the Roman Empire started falling apart. People began to fear for their safety and their future. These invading groups came from different places. The Huns lost a war in China, so they moved west and pushed the Goths into Roman lands. Over 1 million Goths crossed the Danube River and settled in a place called Thrace. Valens tried to stop them but failed. After that, the Roman Empire faced a lot of problems. Cities were attacked, people were hurt, and everything started to fall apart. People felt scared and unsure of what would happen next. So, many people ran away to the deserts or mountains to escape the violence. For them, becoming a monk wasn't just about religion, it was also a way to stay safe. They found peace and order in places far away from the chaos of cities and war. Monasticism became more than just trying to be close to God. It became a way to survive in a world that felt scary and broken. In these quiet places, people found hope and strength. They created small communities where they could help each other and focus on living a good life. A lot of people thought the world was so full of evil and temptation that the only way to save their souls was to leave everything behind. Around the late 200s in Egypt, a young man named Antony heard something in church that changed his life. If you want to be perfect, sell everything you own, give it to the poor, and follow me. That's exactly what he did. He gave away more than 300 acres of land and went to live in the desert all by himself. He wanted to live a life that was completely focused on his faith. Antony had many challenges, but he stayed strong. People started hearing about his faith and courage. A man named Athanasius wrote a book about him, and that's how Antony became the most famous monk in Christian history. His story inspired many others to follow in his footsteps. Writers of the time, both religious and not, said the world was in bad shape. A historian named Ammianus Marcellinus, who wasn't Christian, talked about how the rich were greedy and mean, and how the poor were spoiled by free stuff from the government. A monk named Saint Jerome said people were acting badly everywhere. Even though they were different, both men agreed that the world was getting worse. This helped more people understand why monks wanted to leave it all behind. Even after the Roman Empire became Christian, people felt like the world didn't get any better. Some thought the church was also full of problems. A few monks left not just the cities, but also the churches. They didn't want church services or priests. They prayed by themselves and looked for God in their own way. They believed that personal faith was more powerful than following rules made by others. Antony lived completely alone in an old fort by the Nile River for 20 years. But people still came and built huts nearby, hoping being close to him would bring them closer to God. Even though the word monk means someone who lives alone, it started to mean people living simply near others who were doing the same thing. It turned into a new kind of community built around shared beliefs and goals. Eventually, Antony came out and taught people how he lived. Then another man named Pachomius took monastic life to the next level. In southern Egypt, near a place called Dendera, he created a real community of monks. Instead of living in separate huts, they lived in rows of houses. This setup was called a lora, and it was the first real monastery. People could now live and work together while still keeping their spiritual focus. Pachomius gave the monks simple clothes, white tunics made of sheepskin with hoods. They ate only once a day, just bread, water, and some fruit and veggies. He made schedules for prayers and meals. They built a dining room and a chapel to meet and pray together. To stay busy and healthy, the monks worked, farming, and making things like mats and baskets to sell. Their days were full, but everything they did had meaning and purpose. Under Pachomius, monastic communities grew fast. He started 9 for men and 1 for women, all with the same rules. More and more people joined. While Antony focused on being alone, Pachomius built places where people could live simply together and support each other. These new communities began to spread across Egypt, especially near rivers and deserts. Monasticism had become a powerful movement that offered hope, peace, and purpose in troubled times.